Hey guys, welcome to CraterMania. I am your host, the man they call Crater, and I'd like to welcome you all back to How I Got Into Wrestling. This is a show where we learn about how wrestling fans from all over the world give their perspectives of how they got into wrestling. And on today's show, we have a very special guest. Actually, we have two very special guests. They are some wrestling fans and horror fans, just like myself. And also, one of them is well, maybe two of them. So I have to get into that. So they are professional wrestlers, and one of them known as Isaac Kane with the NWA Crossfire. And last but not least, they are the first guests that I've had on the show that are actually convention promoters. And I know one of them works with the horror convention FrankenCon, and this year both of these guys bring us the first annual WrestleScream, which is a combination of two of my biggest loves, horror and professional wrestling, all in one convention, guys. I mean, how can you beat that? So allow me to introduce at this time, now entering the CraterMania Arena, Matthew Henry and Jake Thomas.
Hey guys.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. It's going fantastic.
There, that looks a little bit better. Now we can see you guys in
perfect.
The full picture. So thank you guys for being on the show. It means a lot to me, and I'm really glad to have you guys here.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate it. I think we rubbed elbows, like you said, at FrankenCon once. And I don't know if you had another run-in with some of the NWA wrestlers at another time. I don't know. I feel like you did.
With NWA Crossfire, so it's still kind of new to me. So I've not run in with any of those guys from that promotion, except for yourself. I'm really excited to see. Actually, when I go to WrestleScream this year, I'll be seeing my first NWA Crossfire show in person. So I've been following a little bit on YouTube, seeing some of your matches and stuff, of course. But I really love what I see. I just been a big fan of just the NWA, for years, man, since I was a kid. So so to be a part, and go and see an actual NWA show, NWA Crossfire to be exact, it should be a hell of a time. And before we get into like the main part of the show and everything, tell us a little bit about your guys' selves, like what you guys do as far as WrestleScream and all that goes.
So in my years working with FrankenCon, I had always had a concept of trying to do some kind of wrestling convention. And it wasn't until we paired up with the NWA that I really saw that kind of opportunity come to fruition. And Jake and I are both huge horror fans. And we just started to kind of slowly build the concept of doing something. And I was hanging out with my brother, Tommy, and we were trying to come up with different names and, all kinds of different stuff. And then I spouted off WrestleScream, and then he said lights, camera, action. And I was like, perfect. That's our tagline, and then it just came about building the card and creating it. But other than that, I've been involved in wrestling for 20 plus years. So, wrestling is like second nature to me. It's kind of like breathing now. Whether it's, doing the actual wrestling or producing, creating, building shows, building content, things like that.
Okay. So I've been looking at this lineup for WrestleScream, and it's like when I look at it, it is like it fits me perfectly in my taste. Like, I mean, you got on the horror side, you got a sleepaway camp reunion, and then over on the wrestling side, you got guys like the Steiner brothers, you got Ricky Steamboat, you got the Sandman, several other ECW alumni. I mean, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. There is a ton that are actually coming to this show, and I'm absolutely so excited. I'm glad that you guys are putting this on for sure.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about some of the guests? Because I
Yeah,
think it's a pretty cool
absolutely.
idea. Jake, I'll kind of let you pop that because we're both really big fans of Friday the 13th. So when it came, he's an even bigger fan of Friday the 13th. So when it came to doing some kind of Friday the 13th reunion, I kind of looked at him and I was like, what should we do?
Do you want me to introduce myself?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I go by Jake, but like I'm also the manager Hendrix, alternate personality type of gimmick. Yeah, like I got into the whole gig like when I was a kid. I've been related to wrestlers throughout my life. I don't know if I want to say any names.
No, let's hear it.
Say Mike Powers. Who was the other one Mom mentioned the other day?
I can't remember, but I know them as like hometown heroes. You know, they're like local. Workers.
Yeah. My step grandmother apparently was one of the ballets. She even cage danced back in her day.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
that's funny you mentioned that you're related to wrestlers as well. So like I'm not related to any wrestlers, but my wife is actually her I don't know what cousin along the bloodline it is, but have you guys ever heard of Crippler Ray Stevens?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that my wife is related to Crippler Ray Stevens and his family. So I thought that was really cool. I was when she first told me that I wasn't really for sure who he was, and then like because he's like back in the old days of wrestling, you know, the old school, probably like 60s, 70s wrestling, I would think. And man, like just looking into some of this, I was like, wow, that's really cool that you're, you know, related to him. And I remember talking to Jim Cornette and telling him about it. And he like, Jim Cornette, I mean, like he's a big deal in the wrestling history. And he kind of even marked out himself thinking that my wife was related to Crippler Ray Stevens. So, but yeah, that's really cool, guys. Like, and so let me go ahead and jump right into the interview part of this. So, and Matt, we can start with you, and then Jake can go, afterwards. As a fan, how did you get into wrestling?
That's a really good question. I can't remember a time that I wasn't into wrestling. I mean, I just like the story was always that like I was born and then my mom was like watching Ric Flair and she had to have surgery whenever she had me and she got so excited she busted her stitches. Like, there's just not a time that like wrestling hasn't been like a part of my life or a part of my family or it really kicked in whenever we were like 16, 17 and my brother and we found out about this guy named Mike Samples who like built wrestling rings and he was in Kentucky and we put like both of our income tax checks together and went and bought one, set it up in the backyard and just was kind of goofing off. And then this woman found out about it who ran like a bar here and it was called the Triple C Dance Barn. And then she was like, hey, why don't y'all just come and do this here? And then it just steamrolled from there. I remember like there was another local promotion somewhere and then Ricky Morton and them came in just to like watch. They weren't even a part of the show. They were just like,
oh wow,
going on with this, these people down here. And I was working with this other wrestler named Overkill who still wrestles with us. And like I picked him up and came off the stage and went through a table. I saw those other workers kind of pop, and then that's whenever they started kind of feeding into us. And then people like Ricky and even like Bobby Eaton and James Storm and Chris Sabin and all these other people started filtering into our shows and then started going, hey, you should try doing it like this and like that. And we kind of just learned on the job, kind of, Okay. So that's how it kind of steamrolled from there. We just started doing it because we liked to do it. And then and now 20 years later, we're still doing it. So.
But as a fan, like, how did you like first come to know wrestling as a fan, and just how did you really get into it that way?
My parents split up whenever I was younger, so I was always like a late night kid. So I would stay up late and I would watch television. I was a bigger horror fan first than I was a wrestling fan. So I was always excited to watch Joe Bob Briggs, Monster Vision, on TNT, and like Nitro was always on right before that, or at least my memory tells me Nitro was on before that. And I was completely enamored with Sting. This was in the middle of his feud with the NWO. And I'll never forget like trying to drown out everything that was going on in my life. Like I can't even remember the bad times that was happening then with everything going on, because my memory is seeing Sting in a rafter with a giant raven or a crow, or no, I think it was I think it was actually what's those birds that like eat things off?
It was a vulture, I believe.
Vulture, yeah.
That was the Clash of the Champions.
Yeah, it was like the 1 year anniversary of NWO or whatever, something like that. And then that kid's voice came over, and I can still recite like when a man's heart is full of deceit, it burns up, dies. Like I can recite that like word by word because it's so ingrained in my memory. And so I was a real big fan of WCW. And I loved Sting and I loved the cruiserweights. And I mean, I was completely hooked. So, and Sting was the closest character to me to like a horror guy. Like,
oh yeah, at that time, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, I didn't even watch WWE until years later, and by then I think it was going into like the Kurt Angle era, like it was almost verging into the Ruthless Aggression era.
Oh, okay.
So, but I was just such a big fan, and then doing trade tapes with my friends and watching ECW. I really liked ECW. So
me too.
it was like Sting and ECW were like the two things that I really liked the most, and horror movies. So
we said a lot alike because Sting is the reason I got into wrestling, and then later, I became a huge fan of ECW. So yeah, definitely. Yeah. So what about you, Jake? Like, how did you become a fan of wrestling?
Well, aside from the acquaintances, it's a little similar, but I'd say about like 10 years difference, because Undertaker was kind of like my Sting back in that day. Yeah, I think I was before, I was really into it before like Charlotte had made the big women's move. And I think I took a rest, which would have been in middle school and high school. And I knew nothing for about 5 or 6 years. But I really got into it in that, I guess, after Attitude Era, like that.
Right? Yeah, and you're pretty big on Hogan. Do you want to talk about your Hogan experience?
Oh yeah,
you went to like
Clearwater, Florida. We had gotten a really cool loft right by the beach, and just by me explaining it, people probably know which one I'm talking about. It's directly across the street from his shop, and I didn't know that until I walked down to the market, and I see these feet that are about like this big in flip-flops right in front of me. And this is like, I was 19, I think. This is right around the time before he started to like kind of thin, and he looked like Hogan, like the one that everybody knows. And I think he came, like I went up to, I think I was like down to here to him. Yeah.
That would have been right after his last WWE run, I think.
Yeah, and he took pictures and everything. Like, he's pretty cool. Like, exactly what you'd see on TV.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard a lot of crazy stories about online and stuff from fans and what some of the negative things they have to say about him. But I've also seen just as many good stories as well about him, and just saying he's a really nice guy.
Well,
He was.
there's two different aspects to him. There's the workers and the people who are the inside that kind of like no. And then if you're just the casual person like you were at the time, that's like a casual fan interaction. But people in the business have been jaded because we've heard about like some of the stories, or so he fabricates things that rest his soul. But if you're just a fan, that's Hogan.
Yeah,
That's like,
Yeah.
he's
Right.
a megastar. So,
but
yeah.
what's funny is, as far as like he was saying, is horror goes to like, back when I first got in wrestling and horror kind of went hand in hand. Similar with me, but for me, instead of Monster Vision, it was a Monster Fest before Fear Fest, and my very first movie I watched, which became my favorite, was the Part 7 Jason. So like that's what we have in common, is Part 7 is both of our favorite Friday the 13th. And people are like, why?
It's my guilty pleasure one. Yeah.
And that reminds me, because I kind of accidentally skipped over what we were talking about before we got into the interview. So you were talking about Jake, you're a big Friday the 13th fan, and you have some of the Part 8 guests actually coming to WrestleScream this year. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, Jensen Daggett and Scott Reeves, who are they're from Jason Takes Manhattan. It's funny because that's my second favorite, which I know I'm very aware of the movie, but
listen, I love Jason's look in that one. I
yes.
mean, not so much the unmasked version at the end, but I mean, just the overall look throughout the majority of the film. I love that one, and I think that was the actual first Friday the 13th autograph piece I ever obtained. Was when I first started going to conventions. I went to meet Kane Hodder, and I got the I Heart New York version of the poster signed by
The
him.
great poster.
That was my first
love
t-shirt.
it.
Yeah. Because see, my first piece was the shot from Jason Part 7, Kane Hodder, swinging the axe down on Melissa. And but yeah, like I remember as a kid, my mom looked just like Jensen Daggett in that movie. So I was always a mama's boy. And I was like, yeah, I like her. She's pretty cool. Like, my mom would watch scary movies with me all the time. But yeah, I mean, it's always the odd sequels or the odd wrestlers. I don't know why. It's always caught my interest.
Same with me too, because and I know this is probably not a popular opinion with a lot of Friday the 13th fans, but my favorite is Part 5, the one that actually doesn't involve Jason.
It's the softcore porn one.
Well, yeah, a lot of people like to call it that one, but it's just one of the biggest reasons I love that movie is just because of such a huge cast of characters, and even though it is meant to be a Friday the 13th, just a slasher film, there feels like there's a lot of humor in it too, and that's something that's always been like big for me. Is humor and horror go hand in hand. I'm a big Evil Dead fan, and Dead Alive, and just a lot of the Full Moon films that have a lot of humor in them. So I love comedy horror, and I don't think it was supposed to be intentional with Friday the 13th Part 5, but it just makes it so much more entertaining for me, especially the stuff with like Miguel Nunez and like when he's singing inside the outhouse and all that, and I'm like, this is hilarious. And then like when he's getting ready before he's killed, he just stands straight up. He doesn't take time to wipe his ass or anything. He just stands straight up, pulls his pants back up, and then gets killed. And I'm like, this movie is just hilariously so hilarious, but it's good at the same time. It's not supposed to be, that way, but it's I don't know. It's always just been really entertaining to me because I really like weird things like that.
I actually liked it so much as a kid because my video store only had Part 4, 5, Jason Lives, and 8, just those. And and Part 5 I like so much. I remember liking it so much that I kind of wished it was more of a Jason involvement, because you get those 3 back-to-back kills, and those 3 characters, Violet, the redhead, and Jake, and like their characters were very developed. They were unique, and their kills were back-to-back, very different. And I don't know, that's what I watched those movies for, was the story, then fast kills back to back.
Oh yeah, and that's also why Friday the 13th is my favorite horror franchise of all time as well. Um, but getting back to the wrestling side of things, so
Wrestling.
I know you guys. I know you said Sting, Matt
Mhm.
was like the first one you kind of got into,
Yeah.
and Undertaker was for you, Jake. Is that correct, or was there someone else that you kind of became a fan of before Undertaker?
I would say, I mean, I know this is a little mainstream, but for some reason, I really liked the young Randy Orton.
Oh yeah, so like when he first came in, was it
Yeah,
like pre evolution Randy Orton, or just like right around the time when he joined the group?
I would say right around when he joined. I mean, I wasn't the only one. A lot of little boys in my
We're giving each
classes.
other RKOs. We're giving each
I mean,
other
the playground was ridiculous. All of us were probably sitting in timeout.
That
I
sounds
mean,
like
what they are
a
saying, he's one of the greatest wrestlers alive now. I mean, which is kind of crazy to think, but I mean,
yeah,
he
it
did
is,
take to it like water, kind of like Angle did, you know.
and it's really crazy. Like when I hear people call Randy Orton a legend, and he is 100%. Like, but when I first started hearing people calling him a legend, I'm like, I don't look at Randy as a legend because whenever I look at Randy Orton, I still think of that guy, that came into the WWE just maybe 20 years ago, a little over 20 years ago, and he went straight into the kind of like the evolution stuff. So that's when I think of that, and then he created that persona, the legend killer. So it's it's hard to look at Randy Orton as a legend when he's the legend killer.
Yeah, I just whenever I thought about it back then, I was like, oh, dude, that's that guy that can hit like this amazing crossbody off the top rope, which now he never does, But I mean, they were really good at building his character, like pairing him with Batista. And I mean, I don't know if we want to get into it, but there's all that stuff going on right now, going into WrestleMania with Pat McAfee and him and all that.
Oh
So
my gosh. And yeah, and I'm doing a whole show on that this Sunday talking about just the build up of WrestleMania and just giving my opinions on all that. So it's a very different time right now in the WWE than it has been the past few years. So I'm excited to
it's
talk about that.
interesting. I mean,
Oh yeah, for sure.
you know,
Um, some of it is it's interesting, but at the same time, it's very questionable. I'm like, how did they come up with this? Why did they go this direction? But I mean, that's nor here or there. But
yeah,
like I said, I'll get into that this Sunday on the channel if anybody wants to check that out. So that'll be probably around the same time, 8 p.m. on Sunday night if anybody wants to check that out.
yeah.
But what are some memorable moments or matches or anything like that that kind of sticks out to you guys when you first started becoming a
Hmm.
fan of wrestling?
Um, so for me, it was definitely Sting versus Hogan. Regardless of how that finish went, I was a kid,
Arcade
so I didn't
97.
care. And then as the years went on, and I started to appreciate wrestling as more of an art form, um, it was those last like solid, I don't know, 6 or 7 years of Flair in WWE, like his match with Taker at the One Mania. I loved that.
Oh yeah, 18.
Yeah, and then like his match with Shawn Michaels, him
Oh yeah,
retiring.
that's so good. Yeah.
Yeah, and then on the other side of it, it was like I remember loving, like, I have very fond memories of watching WrestleMania with my whole family. Like whenever Edge fought Mick Foley. So like
Oh yeah, there's been
yeah,
22.
yeah. Um, And then some of that Attitude Era stuff all kind of blends together for me. So I don't remember it as much, but I remember, I remember The Rock and I remember Goldberg coming in. Like that was huge, right? Like, cause I was a WCW guy. So seeing Goldberg come in and spear The Rock and then go into that, and then Taker versus Brock Lesnar in the Hell in the Cell match, on Brock's first run, so a lot of those moments, if I really had to put my finger on it, it's going to sound super generic, but it's going to be HBK versus it's HBK versus Ric Flair in his retirement match. And then HBK and Hunter. Or not Hunter, but HBK and Taker. Like,
which one? 25 or 26 or
25 for sure.
20. Yeah, that's definitely the better one. But man, like they've had just outside of their WrestleMania matches, they had amazing matches. If you look back in '97, they had their first match against one another at Ground Zero in Louisville, Kentucky, and that was, and shortly after that is when like the DX was formed, and then Shawn continued that rivalry, and they had the first ever Hell in the Cell match at Bad Blood that year. So it's just those guys have had a very minimal amount of matches together, across their whole careers, but every time they had a match, it was fantastic. But that one at WrestleMania 25, yeah, that's definitely up there. It's probably their best.
I do have to shout out early TNA, like early. We're talking Nashville Fairgrounds TNA. Okay. Because I live in a duplex house, so it's like two houses combined, and I lived on one side, my brother lived on the other. And this is whenever you would rent the shows weekly for $10
every Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah. And my brother and I would watch these shows. And then we decided to gather up our whole crew and we bought ringside tickets and we went to a few of those shows. So there's an episode where it was like the debut of Sabu. And it was like, I think it was like Sabu, Monty Brown, and a few other people. Monty Brown pounced him into the crowd, and I caught Sabu, and then he landed at my feet, and we were all freaking out. And then we went to another one where it was Jeff Jarrett and Raven and AJ Styles in a 3-way cage match. That was I think that was the night Vince Russo debuted.
Oh, okay.
On the show.
I think that was around when the time they had that match. That was right around the time Sting first showed up in TNA as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Right. It was because he was kind of in and out. He would come and go, come and go. But yeah, definitely Christian. I think I went to one of the shows and Christian had just he had just been there, but it wasn't long after that until they got the Spike deal, and then they went on the road. Oh, okay. But I remember those Nashville Fairground shows that I went to, and those were a blast. And then years later, I went back there for a Legends show with some, I can't remember who it was, but it was Lawler and Dundee.
Oh, Bill Dundee. Yeah. Okay, cool. I've never got to see Lawler wrestle in person, but I have met him a couple times at conventions. But I love going back and watching all that old Memphis stuff, especially with Andy Kaufman. I'm a huge Andy Kaufman fan. So just getting to see that stuff with Andy Kaufman and Lawler, and just how and a lot of people like to say that wrestling changed in the 80s, which it did, because of so much pop culture was involved in it. But really, if you think about it, Andy Kaufman was the innovator for that back in the 70s in Memphis wrestling.
Oh, the catalyst was there. We actually, you and I recently watched Man on the Moon, the Jim Carrey movie.
Oh, I love that movie.
With Jim Carrey playing Andy Kaufman, and then Lawler, they were at the Late Show and Lawler smacked him to the face.
Oh, yeah.
That was definitely the catalyst for it. But all that stuff was being done on the smaller territory scale. It was, on a large scale. It wasn't yet. But yeah, it was definitely a catalyst for things to come, especially when it comes to celebrities being involved.
Oh yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, because when the first WrestleMania came around, a lot of it was they had a lot of celebrities involved. You had Liberace, you had Cyndi Lauper, you had Muhammad Ali,
Mhm.
just and several others. But like, and that trend would kind of continue from year to year with WrestleMania. But I always like to credit Andy Kaufman to kind of being, like you said, the catalyst for. Um, but Jake, so what about you? Is there any moments that kind of stand out to you? Any matches, anything like that, when you first became a fan of wrestling that you really liked?
Well, it is funny because I do remember because I was born '95, but my parents were sitting me in front of TV. Um, I think ever since I was like literally born. So I remember the late '90s wrestling, and I actually liked it to the point to where to a kid, toddler age, that they're definitely very convincing back then in the '90s. Because I mean, there was no convincing at all. It was blood, violence, and I mean, it almost kind of scared me as a kid. I mean, forget scary movies. Seeing I mean, I've seen one that stood out to me. I forget. You probably know who I'm talking about. The old woman who wrestled way back. She decided to
Mae Young,
and
yeah.
she was being thrown and everything. And I
Oh yeah,
remember that stuck out to me. I mean, it's not just to me like enjoying wrestling, but like as a kid, like being kind of scared. That's a good reaction.
Are you talking about the Dudleys power bombing her off
oh
the
yeah,
stage?
Yes.
Okay.
definitely
Yeah.
what he's talking about.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, and a second one, I mean, because like, I think the past two of the KFW shows, what kind of inspired me to for Hendrix to let Isaac use him as a weapon here lately is Mick Foley. As a kid, I remember Mick Foley like always using himself as a weapon or allowing someone else to use him as a weapon. And I watched a documentary recently, and he said, I mean, what always seems to get a really good kick out of people is the weird kid who will do anything.
Right.
And third, I know this is like recent, but not Mania. It was the women's match, and remember the
Oh, I think I think you're talking about last year's. It was that three-way women's match. The
new girl really stood out
Io
to
Sky.
me. No, not Io Sky. She was blonde, looked kind of like Avril Lavigne. I still don't know what her name
Are
is.
you talking about maybe Tiffany Stratton?
Tiffany Stratton.
No, not Tiffany Stratton, but she was one of the three hanging on at the very last moment. And it was her, the new girl, and
Stephanie Vakir.
there's three of them hanging on. Somebody knows what I'm talking about because, like,
was this a ladder match or what kind of match?
not a
was
ladder
it?
match. It was what was it? Anyways, it was like her. It was like her first time in like they were like, how can I?
Oh, it was probably a post Mania Raw. I think it was like last year's Raw.
It wasn't last year's
or
Raw.
it was like
It was Mania
where they have
Royal Rumble.
Oh, okay, Royal Rumble. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was like she was almost one of the last ones before she got thrown off. And I think
I know what you're talking about now.
The you're talking about the girl that does that really awesome flipping cutter move.
Sol Ruka. Yeah.
Sol
Ruka, okay, because I have loved her ever since. I've been watching videos of her, and I mean, most of the male wrestlers that I've liked was growing up. But here lately, I don't know why.
I just got her rookie card just the other day, so.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's the women, man. I mean, the women that
they're really good. They're so good right now, especially like, I mean, the women on the main roster for WWE right now are extremely talented and just, I mean, they never fail to impress me. But the women over in NXT right now, the developmental, part of WWE. I mean, Sol Ruka,
Mhm.
Zarya, JC Jane, just to name a few. I mean, there's not a single woman on that roster that does not impress me. And so I have a lot of faith in the future of women's wrestling, not only just in WWE, but just everywhere. I mean, it's
Period.
Yeah.
they're phenomenal out there right now.
I mean, not just to mention, Kylie and Kenzie there behind me, but like, I mean, other women in KFW that I even like. I mean, it's not just the top like mainstream with WWE. It's
We just went to the NWA show last month. We went to help with the producing.
Okay.
Yeah, the one that was in Tampa, Florida, and they do so they do 2 live shows per day, and they stretch those out over like I don't know 6 or 7 weeks of TV tapings essentially. So we got to see a lot of talent, and a lot of upcoming female talent. So, and they're right now, I think they just got back from doing a big taping in Texas. So, but that was our first time kind of going and helping out with, doing an NWA production. So
was it NWA Power? Was that what you were
yeah,
helping with?
yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
it was
Yeah.
impressive.
yeah.
I love that show. I mean, I don't get to watch it as much as I would like to, just because. And I mentioned this to several people. Like, there's so much wrestling these days, like as opposed to it was when I was a kid. Like I had, when I was a kid, there was WWF, there was WCW, ECW. You catch every now and then, and that was pretty much it. But nowadays you got, thanks to the internet, we got so much wrestling content everywhere, so it's kind of hard to just kind of keep up with every single thing. But like I said, I do watch NWA Power when I can, and I love that, 'cause I'm a big Smashing Pumpkins fan. Billy
Yeah,
Corgan, who owns the NWA now,
sure.
it's super cool to just to I never would have thought, in a million years that, someone from a band that I grew up listening to would own one of the most historical wrestling companies ever. So,
Well, and I got to put over NWA because, like, whenever they're, for example, whenever you look at their champion right now, Silas Mason, easily one of the most intriguing people that's a part of wrestling production right now. Like, whenever you listen to his promos, you watch how he works, and you see how he carries himself as a champion. It's hard, like when he's on television, it's hard to take your eyes off of him because the work is great. What he's doing in the ring is great, but also what he's doing with his character is exceptional. And someone like Billy Corgan is kind of giving him the reins to kind of do what he wants with his character, because that's not really a character. That's just Silas. That's just who he is, And it's the same with the girls.
And that's the thing that's always kind of drawn me to so many different wrestlers is, like you said, when you hear someone, the way, their body language is, or just, what they're producing out there as far as their promo goes, and just it's guys like that, like, and I'll use Arn Anderson for an example. Like, whenever I would, see Arn Anderson on TV, and he was, he had a microphone, like, I was just kind of zoned in to that, and I would just I would pay attention to everything he was saying. It was something I couldn't look away from, and I love when, you can come across other guys throughout the business that can do that same thing.
Jake the Snake.
Jake the Snake, and just like you said, Silas Mason, another one of those guys, unfortunately, I think another guy, that kind of got a raw deal in WWE is Killer Kross. I think he is so phenomenal in everything that he does. So I'm still, he's in MLW right now.
Yes.
And so I've been following his stuff, and I do that with a lot of guys. Like, even just because they leave WWE doesn't mean that I'll stop being a fan of those guys. I mean, that's
there's going to be a book written about that whole situation one day. I have no idea what happened, but I wish I could have been the fly on the wall to
Yeah.
understand why someone who was so over and was getting himself over without the help of the office somehow still ended up going out the door. And I don't know. It amazing. I think he did an interview recently and said he was offered a deal, and it was kind of like mid card top
Yeah,
deal
yeah,
still,
that's I
you know.
remember seeing that same article where he was talking about that, and if you go back and right before he left the WWE, there's, like,
Mm,
fan videos from the crowd, from him, performing on their show that's on YouTube, I guess it's on YouTube, Main Event,
mhm,
and just the crowd reactions, I was at that time, I was not hearing those type of crowd reactions for any other person in the
mhm.
WWE. And I was like, "What are they doing?" They're like, they have dropped the ball with this guy big time. So yeah, like you
Now, to
said,
be fair, there's a really cool story that I don't know if it was Arn, but it was one of them, and there was a I think I heard it on an interview today. I just can't remember where. But where whenever people are in a situation like that, and then I deal with it too because we deal with talent constantly at our events, and you're doing something that you love to do, and you reach that level where you're like, okay, now I'm doing it, and you always want to strive to continue, right? To continue and go
Mhm.
higher and higher and higher. And really, if you're in WWE, that's kind of the highest level that you can go whenever it comes to viewership and being on a national stage.
Right.
Someone like him may look at someone like an Arn Anderson or a Tully Blanchard or someone like that and go, oh, those guys are legends. And then those guys would look at him and go, was never a champion, was never a headline guy, was always the mid card guy. But y'all look at me now as a legend. So,
Mhm.
where does a wrestler's priorities lie whenever it comes to be where do you want to be looked at the end of the day? How do you want to be remembered at the end of the day? Do you want to be remembered as a mid card WWE guy or go to a smaller pond and be a big fish? And that might be
Exactly.
more creatively, uh, that might be creatively better for him, and which is totally fine. Like if that's what gets your creative juices flowing and you have more control of your character, then do what makes you happy.
Yeah, exactly. And that reminds because the newest episode of Cody Rhodes's podcast, he had
That may have
Triple
been
H
where I
on.
heard it. Yeah.
And Triple H said, he fully supports if you're leaving the WWE, go out there and make a name for yourself. And that's
Mm,
exactly what Cody Rhodes did when he was in WWE before, right there at the tail end, when he was doing the Stardust stuff,
hmm
he was mid card, and sometimes not even, he was barely mid card at that time. And then
Yeah.
he left the WWE, reinvented himself, came back, and was immediately plunged into the main event picture. So that's exactly, the right way to do it, but unfortunately, not everyone's going to have that same kind of success. Uh,
No, but everyone's going to try and replicate it,
oh, definitely, yeah, for
you
sure.
know, and that really all depends upon where wrestling as a whole is at the time. Cody is the
Mhm.
perfect example of he tapped into a wave and then attached himself to another product that popped off, and then he had the opportunity to come back with more leverage. So but it's a different landscape now,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, than it was even 7 years ago. So
Yeah, it definitely is for sure. And just, it's exciting. And at the same time, it's kind of scary to see where the product is going, not just
always
WWE,
going to
but
do
just
this.
the whole landscape, the whole business itself, where it's going, from
Yep.
here. Um, but and I'm glad we talked about that because my next question, I wanted to ask for both of you guys, how do you feel about the state of wrestling today as opposed to when you first got into it as a fan?
I'll let you start.
I feel like and this is my opinion, it could also have a lot to do with my era. I think it's a lot better now. Not just to mention because of the women's part of it, because they made a big change just within the decade. But I mean, for everybody, I think, just in my opinion, the ownership of WWE is a little bit better. Less deaths. But
I don't think too many people will disagree with you on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, because some of the guys, I remember some of the guys that
I like all the owners now. Really, I
Yeah.
can't think
No,
of an
yeah.
owner of one of the big companies that I don't completely dislike. Well, I mean, anyways.
Well, the art itself, I mean, I think has an even better role model. Everybody, like you said, you see it everywhere now, and that's probably because it's a better influence. It's a way better influence.
Yeah, I can definitely see, just because there was just so many controversial and really negative perspectives from previous ownerships and stuff. Not just WWE, but I mean, if you look back at when TNA was being ran by Dixie Carter, it feels
yeah.
so. If you look at TNA today, is opposed to when she was running things, it feels like there's a more of a positive feeling backstage and within all the workers in that company now.
Yeah, the Hardys are just running that place.
Yeah.
I mean, like they are like, and it's became a bit of a feeder system, which is cool too.
And I mean, wrestling can still be entertaining and fun for the actual for the wrestlers, without like having to cut corners and
deal with horrible people.
Yeah, I mean, it can still be great. Now, in my opinion, if you're checking all the boxes and not just like it used to be, I think you're doing pretty good. I mean, even places like us, like KFW, I mean, or the NWA, I mean, people go crazy. I mean, now we go to music festivals and it's almost similar, like Blurred Line. It's
similar crowd aspect. Yeah. Which, dude, I was at a music festival once and I saw Sami Zayn in the mosh pit.
No, that's awesome. And that's that definitely rings true, I think, for most people that actually are just not only involved in wrestling promotions, but just like the fans that go to these shows. And it seems like there is a lot of good rapport between these fans at these shows, and just you don't really hear any kind of negative experiences and all that. But I think the biggest problem is just how many these trolls and these shit talkers online and stuff. I think that's the biggest problem, honestly. What do you guys feel about that?
I think that's a double negative because I mean, once the internet age kicked in, and then all the insiders went online, and it wasn't just newsletters, and then everybody started to know how the sausage was made. Essentially, then that you're going to deal with both of those things. You're going to deal with the positive side of it, like you, right? And doing interviews and knowing a little bit more about the business than the average person probably would have, say, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Whenever I got into it, like it was whenever I first got into wrestling, I remember I did an angle, and in the angle, my neck was hurt, and I was working a job. Well, I'm going to work now with a neck brace on. That doesn't happen anymore.
Not right.
And it's because everybody knows how the sausage is made, and we don't feel obligated to commit. Some people don't. I still do. So my biggest problem is, to me, I just want to see more realistic story driven content.
Yeah.
And things that make sense. And it doesn't have to be convoluted. It can just make it serious in tone. I really, for example, if we're going to look at a grand stage of how that's happening, I enjoy what they're doing with Brock and Femi.
Me too.
Chef's kiss. That's perfect. That's all
I think that's the best thing going into Mania right now, honestly.
Yep, I would say so. And then whenever I looked at last year, whenever Kenzie went up against Natalie at the NWA event, it was like the NWA anniversary event, and there was like a connection with WWE, and that match has never been posted online, but there's fan videos, and that's because of some of the stuff going into it. But it's crazy to see what Natalie is trying to do with her character on the independent scene, and they're not really letting her carry that over onto television as much. But I like badasses. I just do. That's what I enjoy about it. And if you're not kind of a badass, then you need to be such a character that every time you're on screen or in front of people, you're captivating. So for me, it's just realism and story driven. That's all I want.
Oh yeah, and go ahead. I'm sorry, Jake.
No, you're fine. I was just going to add to his. And I know I'm biased because Kenzie's, part of our group. But I mean, like, I really liked all of that too. Like her jumping in to Natalia's practice. I mean, all of it was not just funny, but like, if you know Kenzie Page, like her character, it is so her. It's spot on because she's not usually, her character's not really like that. If her character is happy, if Kenzie Page is happy, but then it's like, no, that bitch.
I've seen Kenzie upset.
That's when she will be. Yeah. So that's what I like. That's what makes me a fan. And actually, even though she's younger than me, and I'm a man, I'm not afraid to say that she's inspired a little bit of what I like to do out there. So
definitely. I mean, and it's when I think a lot of wrestling fans, they talk about wrestling, they talk about their inspirations and stuff. Majority of the time you're going to hear a lot about the guys, the legends like Hogan and Sting. We talk about Undertaker guys, but I think the women, especially the women nowadays, are just as inspiring as the men. I mean, if you look at women that have been in the business for a while now, like AJ Lee, she was inspired by Lita, and girls like that, back in the Attitude Era. And I think there's you look at a lot of the women in WWE nowadays, like Stephanie Vacure, like I'll use her as an example because just this past Raw, there was a little girl in the audience, and they kind of like highlight her, and she had like the Stephanie like cosplay going. And I'm like, and I love to see that. I love to absolutely see that because these women are inspiring these kids. If those kids stick with wrestling, they could one day see themselves in that same situation. So I absolutely love seeing that, and I think Rhea Ripley here recently in the past few years. I mean, I feel like she's one of the biggest stars in that entire company. I mean, she's top 5 biggest stars. Gotta be.
Yeah, she's like WWE's like Wonder Woman in my opinion.
We go to we do music festivals every year. So we do I go to Louder Than Life, and I go to so I've seen, like I'm a big fan of heavy metal music, and I've seen Motionless in White live quite a few times. So whenever they played her out, I felt like I was like, this is awesome. It's always rap music, or it's always this, or it's always that. So I even had a weird moment as a 40-year-old man going, oh, someone's representing my, like, it's been a long time. I mean, the last one we had was Motorhead, and Fred Durst, so Yeah, and the latter is not a great representation of rock music. So,
well, also like not just women representation, but I want to give a shout out to like guys like on the KFW side, like Tyler Franks or Hunter, smaller guys or guys who started out smaller. A lot of guys, like when I was growing up, I was even smaller than what I am now, and you get like a complex. You can't. You're not strong. You can't do this. You can't do that because you're tiny. And I like seeing that. There's more tone, slender built guys out there. It's not just big giant people,
muscled up people.
Yeah, like it makes people like or young kids feel like they have a chance.
You can thank Shawn Michaels for that.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels. Yes, Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels is definitely the catalyst for that, but I like to always credit, like we were talking about earlier, the early days of TNA.
Yeah.
So if you look at the guys in that X division in the early 2000s, I think that's really what has inspired so many of the younger stars nowadays. Because a lot of people, you see them complain. People complain about everything though, when it comes to wrestling online. Let's be honest. But there are a lot of people complain though about like the flippy shit or the spot monkey stuff, and I'm like, well, I mean, but you got to look at the age of some of these wrestlers. These younger wrestlers now. They grew up watching those X Division guys in TNA and doing this, innovative at the time, flippy stuff. And I don't mind it. I mean, I think it looks pretty fucking cool if I'm being honest. So like,
those guys in the X Division, they grew up watching Juventud Guerrera and Chris Jericho.
The cruiserweights.
So, yeah. Yep.
So, I mean, definitely, there's always going to be gripes, I think, with everything. There's always going to be that one guy or a group of people on the internet that's going to complain about anything. What is your guys' biggest pet peeve when it comes to wrestling complaining on the internet? What bothers you the most about? Is there one particular thing or a couple things?
Tommy was here.
Yeah, I wish my brother was here. Yeah, it would probably be armchair quarterbacking mostly, because coming from someone which I help book, whenever people talk about, well, they should do this or they should do that, and if you're in the business and you understand, it's not just the factor of what is best for television. There's probably 20 other factors that are going into it. Is the person injury prone? So do you want to invest that much into them? Do those two people like each other? How easy is that person to work with?
It's a lot to consider.
Yeah, a lot to consider. So it'd probably be the armchair quarterback stuff, but I get some of it. I understand, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion. So.
What about you, Jake?
Well, we were just talking about this the other night. I mean, I won't go into specifics, but just all together, not just with wrestling, but entertainment, just in general. Now, I do know when it started, it had its uses, but now it's just getting a little ridiculous. Is some of the cancel culture. I feel like unless you have worked or you are in the industry of any kind, I mean, you really got to think before you start waving the cancel flag and trolling
accusations and all that.
Yeah.
Although what is cool about that is wrestling is one of the only places in the world where they can actually they can bend the rules a little bit on it every now and then.
Oh yeah, there's probably people that
they don't do it. Or they'll do things that are very risque, and it to me, in that sense, wrestling's very much like the stand-up comedy world, where it's still it's the last vestige of we can kind of do what we want. Go to an indie show and if they're ballsy enough, you're probably going to see something that's like, oh, I can't believe that they just kind of did that. You know,
you have to pretend like you're doing what you want.
Yeah, yeah.
It's funny you compare it to the stand-up world because those I don't know if you guys seen this, but those WWE is doing this thing at WrestleMania with Kill Tony. So and
Yep.
they did this last year as well. So they're kind of blending the wrestling world into the stand-up world now. So what's your guys' thoughts on that?
I think it's perfect because the reason why that stuff works with wrestling is you can always just say, "Oh, it's okay. It was just a work, man. It's all good."
And not just
we're cool. Yeah,
like not just the blending of the stand-up. Like we're in the era of genre bending. Like the new dude that you and I like that dresses up like monsters and makes like you're cursed.
Oh,
Danhausen. I love
Yeah.
Danhausen.
Entertainment and performance and horror movies. And it's like, I mean, bend the genre a little bit, add some other layers to it. I mean, because I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I feel like I'm more entertained by KFW or NWA than WWE for a while. And then once like Mania or Royal Rumble comes around or SummerSlam, then I'm tuned in. So doing these different things kind of gets people out of the funk. Then they're less likely to want to
Well, and a lot of that has to do with me because when you're in the business for a very long time, it does become difficult to either, like, if you're running shows for 20 years, it becomes difficult to like watch shows weekly. You know what I'm saying? Because you're doing shows and you're watching shows, and then your whole life becomes wrestling shows. So, although my life, I mean, a big part of it revolves around wrestling. So I do go through ebbs and flows with it, but I do agree with you, Jake, on the bending, the kind of bending the genres with characters. AEW does that sometimes too, which I do enjoy.
Oh yeah, and I've said this for a long time too. Like that's one of the biggest things why I love wrestling so much because it can just kind of combine all these different things,
Mhm.
and they all exist within not just one promotion, but it's the wrestling world all over. It has drama, it has comedy, it has horror, it has romance sometimes. I mean, just
Yeah.
wrestling is one to me the most unique art form to ever exist because it has a little bit of everything.
It complements, and I noticed, like especially lately, it likes to be inspired off of like comics and superheroes too.
Yes,
because the comic books lately are doing the same thing. They're trying to lean away from fatigue. They're trying to mix things up.
Oh yeah, and I think a lot of that has to deal with people that just grew up loving comics. If you look at CM Punk is a huge comic book guy. So I think, and I know he's already showed interest in once he retires from the ring, he wants to work behind the scenes and help young talent kind of gain success, later in the future. And I could see him as one of those guys that would inspire, more of these kind of comic book type characters for wrestlers going forward. I could definitely see, and I'm all for it because that's basically the kind of wrestlers that I grew up with. You look at guys like Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan and Macho Man; those are like real life superheroes.
I mean, I think him and Cody were the ones that really pushed hard for Danhausen to come in.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Well, Steph and Becky Lynch,
always
they're doing a lot of
cosplay.
I noticed that they were doing like X-Men type like suits that like I could only recognize. I'm like, they're wearing that even though like nobody's going to really know who they're referencing. But I know who they're referencing, like little minor comic characters like Siren from X-Men or just small small characters with great costumes.
I love when they do that too. Like if you got guys like Matt Cardona or Kofi Kingston who've had a lot of comic book inspired attires. I'm there for a long time. When Kofi had the more colorful ties, he was doing a lot of DC inspired attires, and then
Yeah,
where Mattel, who puts out the WWE action figures, they also own DC, so they had the rights to make those tights that he wore on TV into action figures.
they
So
just
I
couldn't
I
go
love
too
that.
far.
I don't know if you remember. Do you remember the deal with Rey Mysterio? Whenever there was almost the big lawsuit, because remember every WrestleMania there for
Oh
a few
yeah,
years, he was coming out like he did the
the
Captain
Flag,
America gimmick,
Captain America.
but the one that almost got him in trouble was the Daredevil one because it was
I've
around
heard
the time the movie
yes,
came
I've
out.
heard him
Yeah,
talk about this.
I
yeah,
don't understand
And
that.
they were because they were I think they were trying to obtain the rights or something. Mattel was
hmm
trying to obtain the rights to make an action figure version of that,
yeah,
and they couldn't because they did did the one of him in the Flash, and I think they did a few different other ones. They did one of him as the Joker that year,
yes, yeah, hmm
and but I can't think if they made any other ones in the action figures, but because I know he did some Marvel ones as well,
Hmm.
and because he did like the Captain America, he did a Silver Surfer one year. I remember that.
yeah,
And I think that was the big thing that they weren't able to get the licensing for these Marvel characters, but
yeah.
they didn't really have a problem with the DC characters, but yeah, that Daredevil one he did was the shit, man. I
That
loved
was
it.
great. I mean, but people forget about that match. That was a great Mania opener match with him and
That was
Hart.
the one him and Matt Hardy, right?
Yeah, that was. But people, I mean, it was short, but it was good. It was tight. I really like that match.
Oh yeah, I
And
think
Shannon Moore got to get involved there for a second. Yeah, for a second. So
Man, I really miss seeing Shannon Moore on TV.
Yeah.
I loved when he was doing the stuff with Matt Hardy, the MFer,
yeah,
and also when he went to TNA and he had like the mohawk and he had like the paint on his face and uh,
I mean, literally, there's a few move sets that he's done that I still do to this day. Like one of my finishes is that like second rope, like I pop off the second rope and I'll do that jumping kind of blockbuster, but the person's kind of leaned over and they take like the
oh
side.
okay.
But like, and so I saw him do that and I've always loved that move. So I was like, I'm working that into my deal. So I do it.
Yeah, I'll never forget the first time seen Shannon Moore wrestle is when he was with 3 Count in
Yes.
WCW. Him and Evan Courageous and Gregory Helms. Or I guess he
Great.
wasn't Gregory Helms. He was going by another name at the time.
Sugar Shane.
Sugar Shane Helms. There you go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
And then he fought the it was I just remember that great ladder match in the in the early 2000s
oh
WCW.
yes, that was when the Young Dragons was a part of
The
that as
Young
well.
Dragons. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
God, man, I need to go back and watch that. That was a really good one, especially because a lot of people shit on those last couple of years of WCW, but there was some good stuff here and there in there.
Here
You know,
and
some
there, but few
really
and far
really hidden
between.
gems
But
like that.
yes, yeah, yeah, definitely. So,
So
speaking of ECW, I did want to mention it's not on the page, but we're bringing in Jerry Lynn for WrestleScream.
I did see that you had put
Hmm.
up some new images of like you had like an ECW panel that you're doing, and I
Yep,
seen that he was a part of that. I was like,
yep,
holy shit, that's the new effing show right there, Jerry Lynn.
yeah,
So
yep.
You
man,
want
I became such a huge fan of him there in the late '90s when he had the feud with Rob Van Dam. Some of the best matches you'll ever see in the entire catalog of ECW.
Yes, I 1,000% agree.
And
so who would you say you're excited to like wrestlers or movie stars? Who would you say you're excited to see at WrestleScream?
hmm, that's who I'm excited to see the most. That's a very tough question because I mean, definitely all the ECW guys: Sandman, Shane Douglas, Jerry Lynn, Francine.
Yeah,
I'm super excited to be a part of that sleepaway camp reunion you guys are putting on because
yeah,
Scarefest did that a few years ago. I unfortunately missed out on it, and so when I seen you guys announce it, I was like, "Fuck yeah! I'll finally get another chance here." So, and Felissa Rose is one of the absolute biggest sweethearts in the entire convention industry that there is. I mean, so she deserves all the praise just alone on that. But I mean, I've met Steamboat before, but I'm always happy to see Ricky Steamboat. I mean, one of the kindest like wrestlers you'll ever meet.
I'm kind of super stoked for Glenn Enos because he doesn't. People don't think about him as much, but he played Jason like 60% of the movie in Freddy vs. Jason.
That's very true. Because is he the one that also is at the end of the film when he's coming up out of the water? I thought so.
With Freddy's hair.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see the Friday the 13th Part 8 reunion you guys are doing. I mean, there's so much. The Steiner brothers, you guys announced Gangrel's coming in, correct?
No, Vampiro.
Oh, I'm sorry, Vampiro. So that's another love Vampiro. One of my favorite bands of all time is the Misfits, and when he was with the Misfits in WCW,
they did the Misfits in action deal. Yeah,
don't forget Carlito.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Carlito as well is coming in, and the Godfather or Papa Shango,
D'Lo Brown,
D'Lo Headbangers.
Yeah,
that's another. I love the Headbangers because I was a big Marilyn Manson fan like in the late '90s, and they were always wearing his shirts and stuff in their matches. So I was like, that's
one of the best finish moves ever. Like. Their stage dive finisher.
Right?
Yeah, it's great. And then we got a Nightmare on Elm Street reunion. So we got Tuesday night and Ken Sago's Ricky Dean Logan. And then we're doing a Return of the Living Dead reunion with Tom Matthews and Alan Troutman. So who played Tarman?
Alan Troutman has evaded me for too long, so I can't wait to meet him at this show. Like he's been advertised for several other shows in the past that I was attending, and I think work got in the way. He got a job working on a film or a show or something. Because I mean, outside of I'm a huge Muppets fan, and so outside of Return of the Living Dead as Tarman, Alan Troutman also worked with Jim Henson quite a bit. He was in the costume of Francine on the Dinosaurs TV show from the 90s. And then he did several other things with Jim Henson. So not only am I excited for him being there because of Return of the Living Dead, but also because all the Jim Henson stuff too, because that's one of my all-time like heroes is Jim Henson.
And if you're a 90s kid, we got Pete and Pete coming in.
Oh my God, I saw that announcement too, and that's amazing. Like, it's amazing that you got, I've seen Danny Tamborelli do some shows in the past, but I don't think I'd ever seen, I can't think of his name.
Michael C. Maroney. Yeah.
Yes. So not only is he but he was one of the of Kevin's brothers in Home Alone.
In the Home Alone films, yeah.
Yep. So and I think he was also in this movie that I really liked. Came out I think the early.
I saw the TV Globe.
No, it was called Slackers.
Oh, Slackers. Yes. Slackers. Yes. Yeah.
So he was in that, and he's a really good character in that movie too. If you've never seen it, I highly recommend anybody to watch that movie, Slackers. But that's super cool that you. So definitely, I'm going to try to pull out some Pete and Pete stuff. Maybe I might cosplay as Artie or something.
Yeah. And you can, guys, if anyone's listening, you can always go online. You just go to WrestleScream.com, and like we have everything there on the site, so you can. We have tickets prices starting at $20 and then all the way up to our VIP and super VIP tickets. But you can also actually book the room at the Hilton. It's going to be taking place at the Hilton Knoxville Airport on Alcoa Highway, right next to the airport. And you can actually book a room there and stay at the Hilton where all the talent's going to be staying. And then you can see all the other talent we're bringing in. Tyler Main's going to be there as well.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, we're really going to do it out at this event. And my brother and I, we were just talking about it. And I mean, I love the Hilton, but we only have so much space there. And I was like, if we do this right, we may, end up outgrowing that place in the first year.
And in case people don't know, which a lot of people know who Tyler Mane is, he wasn't just Michael Myers, but he's Sabretooth, X-Men, and
Yep.
He's in Joe Dirt too. One of my all-time
Yeah, he
favorite
is in
comics.
Joe
And he
Dirt,
wrestled.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was Big Sky in WCW as well.
Yep.
So if you're, definitely fits the bill for, both aspects there, horror.
Maybe he'll get
and
involved.
That's what I'm hoping.
Is that a teaser?
Dude, I was literally talking to the agent the other day, and they were like, "You know who would really love to get involved in this?" I was like, "Who?" And they were like, "Felissa Rose. She would be totally down."
Oh yeah, I bet.
I was like, "I'm gonna have Felissa come face to face with Jenna Jameson, who we have booked as well."
Oh, that's right.
In the middle of the wrestling ring.
We can get a kiddie pool and fill it with like mud.
Or we could just have Francine, relive her ECW glory days and have a cat fight with Felissa Rose.
And throw Jenna Jameson in
throw
there.
Jenna Jameson there. Now you're talking early. Yeah, you're talking ECW stuff now for real.
I mean,
because Jenna was also in ECW there briefly, and if you remember, she was also briefly a part of the WWF during the Attitude Era, because when Val Venus came in, Val Venus would do like the little vignettes where he was like in the bushes and stuff, and Jenna Jameson, that's Jenna Jameson in that vignette with Val Venus.
Man, I was just watching clips the other day of Zombie Strippers just to kind of create like a video for her, and I forgot how hysterical that movie was.
They're having like a scream off as like
a zombie.
Is that the one that Robert Englund's in as well?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, it's been a while since I've seen that one, but yeah, that's a wild one for sure.
It is hysterical.
I mean, and if you guys don't mind, we have a show too. It's Zap and Slash, and we dedicate certain episodes towards certain like characters and
movies,
people who are going to be at the convention, and we try to talk about it.
That's usually always on the WrestleScream page or the Zap and Slash page on Fridays.
Yeah. So questions are answered.
Yep.
All right, cool. And I know, Matt, we talked a little bit earlier because when we first started the interview, you talked about how you got into the wrestling business. So, Jake, let me ask you now, like, how did you get into the wrestling business?
Well, other than what we discussed previously, I just I went to one of the I think the first KFW show I went to was probably about 2 or 3 years ago, and I was working like food. I just my first day I had to help with food,
working his way up from concessions.
So and then I noticed, I was like, well, I like helping. So then I started helping break down equipment and helping it build back up. And then I thought, I like the idea of like character building, and I already had in mind, because we all have like a dark version of yourself or a brighter version, and I brought them into real like reality.
So. I wanted him to manage, and then I was like, how can I utilize him differently than other people? So that's whenever I just started picking him up and throwing him as a weapon.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I'm just going to use you as an actor.
Whatever works.
Well, and like, I grew up with my close guy friends. I think all the way from elementary through high school, where we beat the hell out of each other on the trampoline. I mean,
it's not too far from what
I mean.
I think that always, really helps you. Like later, if you do get involved in the wrestling, and I know some people would probably disagree with that, but like, when I was in high school, but this is early 2000s, and me and all my friends, we had our little backyard wrestling, fed we did on the trampoline and stuff. And several of those guys are in the business now as professional wrestlers.
Yeah.
So, and I always say, like, and I know, like I said, I don't think a lot of people would agree with this, but I think that really helps you long term if you
Hey,
start
listen,
out.
if you are passionate enough to jump off the roof of a house or whatever it may be doing backyard wrestling whenever you first start out, then chances are you really do love the business in some way, shape, form, or fashion.
100%.
So, as long as you stick to it, then you'll, it takes a little bit of luck and a whole lot of training. So like Kenzie went and trained with Dr. Tom and, Kane and Ricky Morton and all them. So if you have the right people around you, then you can just harness that passion and develop it. And hopefully I can harness you as a weapon. That's the whole idea. That's the whole idea.
And I'm glad both of you guys, have such a passion for not only wrestling but the convention world as well. And I gotta ask, what is tougher for you guys, working in the wrestling business or working in the convention world?
Convention business.
For what reason?
With wrestlers, you deal with you tentatively deal with the wrestlers directly, and with the convention world, you deal with agents. Now, let me preface: I have some fantastic agents, right? I have the guys that run Time Warp in Kentucky.
Earl.
Yeah,
Earl's
him, and then Appalachian Championship Wrestling. Those guys have helped me out a lot. Billy Corrigan, obviously, my brother as well, and Samantha Osborne, who is an agent for the actors. That's where it just kind of becomes a little bit more difficult. There's just usually with wrestling shows, you have you go into them with a decent amount on the line, but with conventions, you can go into those with a lot on the line. And with this one, we have quite a bit of talent, So I've been very lucky in that I have a lot of great vendors that are actually bringing in some of the wrestlers for me. But that doesn't happen with actors. With actors, it's like you deal with the agents, and then you bring them in, and then you're dealing with the larger venues. So the larger the venue, the more the responsibility. So it's just more responsibility in general.
Right. Yeah. And like you said, with wrestlers, a lot of them rarely go through agents, and they just kind of like book their own selves on shows and events and things like that. I mean, there will be the occasion where you run across certain wrestlers that have agents and you have to go through them. But like, I definitely, get that. As far as like politics and stuff goes, do you think there's more politics in wrestling or the convention world?
Way more politics in wrestling. Yeah.
Okay. That's
because the actors are literally just like, they are there for the fans. That's it. And they're there and they know their place. Like, they know, hey, I'm popular in this world because of A, B, and C. Right. Where wrestlers, it's always looking about positioning yourself into a better spot or better position, which is totally understandable. Who doesn't want to be in a better position? I mean, everybody does. And if you have the talent and the wherewithal to do that, then more power to you. But yeah, there's more politics in wrestling than there is in the convention world. Although there is some.
But my input, you've been doing both longer than me. I've been enjoying them probably as long, but I noticed, like, we worked with Adam Caesar, author of
Cornfield, right?
And he was probably, and I loved all the talent, but he was probably the easiest to work with, which he should have been the hardest. But I've noticed this about wrestlers since day one of being in person at KFW. The wrestlers are not a single one I've met, maybe like one or two, but all of them are really nice. They won't know you, and they'll still walk up to you and shake your hand like you're part of the family. You've been part of the family. I mean, all of them.
Locker room etiquette.
Yeah, like that. They're super nice. to each other most of the time. I've never really seen too much problems. The talent, and I understand because they deal with agents, they deal with this. They some of them probably have to deal with stalkers, but I've noticed, like, and I won't say names, but there's sometimes there's like there's specific talent who never really told us they had interest in being in a specific convention with us. And sometimes they'll go out on Facebook and they'll see a fan go, I would really like to see this person at a convention. Mm-hmm. And then they'll respond to them and just openly say something like, well, they didn't invite me. Yeah, and it's like, what? We didn't.
Maybe there's a reason for that.
But now I'm seeing you're damned if you do, damned if you don't in the convention world. Yeah. Wrestling, I feel like it's more.
They're just there for the ride. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a little harder.
I've booked a lot of talent. And the first comment will be, I mean, there's tons of people, ticket sales are great, everything's going fine. But I'm just talking about the ones that talk the most are the ones that are the negative ones, right? Those are always the ones that talk the most. Right. So it's like, I'll drop all these names and then they'll say, you should really bring in Kane Hodder. And I'm like, okay, I love Kane Hodder. He's going to be at CreepyCon, Scarefest, Days of the Dead, this place, that place, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's at 10 places surrounding us right now.
He books himself too, right?
No, well, yes and no. He does have an agent, and she's a sweetheart of a woman that helps with him. But he also does his own. But my point of that is, there's a million other conventions you could go to to see Kane.
Yeah,
and the first thing you're gonna say on my post is, you should really bring in Kane Hodder. I'm like, I know we should, but he's doing 27 conventions this year.
So. Yeah, and I've talked with several other convention promoters out there, and they all pretty much have said the same thing. Like that's it's not necessary. I mean, if you're making an announcement for this, certain guest, the last thing as a promoter you want to see is like, well, that's great and everything, but you should bring in this other person.
Yeah.
I mean, it really takes away from the whole, hype of that announcement for this guest that you just put out there. And I guess that leads me into my next question. Are you guys done booking for WrestleScream, or you got some other tricks up your sleeve?
I've had some talent contact me, so there may be a few more. There's definitely going to be more wrestlers for sure.
Well, I hate to be that guy because it's what we just discussed, but someone I would love to see is Dawn Marie from ECW.
Ooh, okay. Not one I ever thought of. I mean, I always loved Dawn Marie, so I think it's a great idea. And that is the one thing I told, some of the people that I work with is, hey, I'm done right now. I'm done booking guys. I need
more women,
some more girls here, and I think she would be a perfect one. And I was like, I want Stacy Keibler. And they're like, well, she's married to George Clooney. So too bad.
Yeah. I've only, honestly, in the past few years, I think I've only seen Stacy on one show. Yeah. And that was the big event in New York, which is a big wrestling convention in New York.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, and I think she was one of the higher end guests for that show, if you feel me on that. But, so yeah, she may be kind of difficult to get, guys. If you
also want to shout out the crew at WrestleCade, because I had meetings with them whenever I started coming up with this concept, and they were the ones that pointed me in the direction of like, hey, you should work with this person, that person, and this person. So it was Tracy Myers.
Okay.
Really kind of helped me out right there in the very beginning phases.
Yeah, and the reason I brought up Dawn Marie is because I've seen her do a few shows here. I think she's getting ready to do WrestleCon in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And I think she was just at the big, or not big event, but it was the one in Indianapolis, Squared Circle Expo.
Yes. Yeah.
So she was at that one, and I saw some videos online, some like fan interactions, and like I'm like, that's the kind of interaction, that's the experience that I want to have meeting someone. So
Yeah.
like, just a suggestion, guys. Don't mean you have to, but it's definitely I think that she would really be a good experience for fans at that show.
I'll reach out to my two people. I'll see if there's a connection. It's one of those weird things. She's one of the names that hasn't came up, but the second that you mentioned her, I'm like, oh, she has crossover appeal from being in multiple promotions. So yeah.
Yeah, she seems really cool and just sweet. And I have her. I actually follow her on Facebook, and she has like her own little side business now. She's not really involved in wrestling business anymore. Now
Yeah.
she like sells like I guess like the gemstones and crystals and stuff.
Oh my gosh. Who was it we ran into that did that? D Wallace.
D. Wallace,
We were,
yeah.
Oh, D Wallace does that as well. That's awesome.
She doesn't just do that. It's also
it's
like
a spiritual thing, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So, but she's awesome. She's like everybody's favorite, like mom.
Oh
or
yeah,
grandma.
she was super cool. Like last year, FrankenCon,
Yeah.
her and Danny Pitaro were both there, and I had bought the photo op for the Cujo photo op, and I think like someone came because I had forgotten about the photo op.
I
What
built
time
that
it
set,
was.
by the way.
Oh, did you? Well,
We
I was
have it
I
in
was
the back
bragging
room.
on that set,
Yeah.
and I was like, I was like, that was fantastic. I was like, and I love. I think his name is Cubby, or something like that does the photo ops.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes. Yeah.
I think his name was Eli, right?
Eli.
Eli.
Yes. Yeah.
But his like business is called Cubby or something like that. I forget what the name of the photo op company is. But anyway, um, those were the best photo ops that I've ever
Yeah.
seen. Like as far as quality wise, like the lighting, everything about it was perfect. And but I had forgotten about the time for that photo op, and then someone came and grabbed me. He's like, "Hey, are you Chris Prater?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, they're
That was
needing
probably
you."
me.
Yeah, because I think I remember seeing you.
Actually, I think it was you. Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
It was you that came up to me and said that. So like I was kind of confused, and they're like, "Oh, we need you for the Cujo." I was like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot!" So I ran over there, and then like there was Danny and Dee. They were just they were waiting for. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." So like when I got in there, I got to talk with them for a few minutes because Eli, I think, was still out. He hadn't come back yet to take the photo. So
Yeah.
it was just really cool to kind of have a little like short, intimate moment with
Your own
Danny
little personal
and
moment
Dee.
with them. Yeah, that's cool.
And afterwards, like when I got the photo sent to me in my email, the digital photo, I was like, oh my god, this is like everybody should use this guy. Like these are the best photo ops I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So, and knowing now that you were the one that built the doghouse and that whole set, that
And
just
the
makes
Joe
me.
Bob set. I do this.
Oh,
So
well,
yeah.
did you? That's fantastic, man. Like
Yeah.
you do a fantastic job with that. So,
Yeah.
you could be an
I wear too
interior
many
decorator.
hats. I'll be honest with you. I wear too many hats. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was saying. You could get another side hustle being an interior decorator somewhere, man. That'd be
Yeah, and if
crazy.
you're at FrankenCon or WrestleScream, but anytime you're at FrankenCon and you hear announcements over the speaker, that's
Mhm.
me.
Yeah, like
I thought so.
Yeah.
That's how I got my start with helping like with production stuff was so I want to give shout out to FrankenCon because they let me help with production and whatever
You came
I could.
up with the concept of
Oh yeah, like Clown of Cornfield's whole panel was more I think it was,
Franken stories.
yeah, Franken stories. Yeah, and I think they're doing another one this year.
Mhm.
The contest is actually over in May. So like if you got you got a short story you want to write, enter a contest, they print them off in individual books.
Not they, we.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the winner, what does the winner get this year?
So I don't want to tell, but they'll
it's a
all the
surprise.
stories will be put into books, and then the stories get read on the stage. So these people write stories for us. It has to be 10,000 words or less and no more than 4 characters. And then we read them on the stage out loud, like story time. So these people get to hear their story read out loud. And then we have judges that judge the best story. But we put all the stories into a book. Kind of like, it reminds me, I'm such a big fan of the old books, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And that's what it's kind of based off of. I even do art for each story that's similar to that. So, and then the main winner will get like some kind of a prize.
That's super cool. Like, and you guys should also like look into, I don't know if this is something that it would catch on, because it's just something that's very nostalgic to me that you don't see enough anymore, is fanzines. So
like you mean the fan magazines?
Yeah, like, but nowadays it would, with the internet and everything, you could just do something digitally, and like by kind of putting something out there, like you were talking about the whole like short stories and stuff like that. I would love to see something in that, like a monthly thing from like fans could submit their short stories and you guys could like put them out there for everyone to be exposed to. But I don't know. That's just, like I said, that's something I kind of grew up with. It's very nostalgic to me, and you don't really see a lot of that stuff anymore. But I think that's just because of the internet, basically.
Yeah,
I'll have to message you about that, because I'm a writer. I'm getting with the last year's winner. We're trying to come up with a book for WrestleScream, literally a story or set of stories that wraps around the title WrestleScream somehow. And two of my dreams is to be like CM Punk and write and be the artist of my own little comics, or to just publish short story books, because I want to help other indie creators. That's more my dream than to be like a Stephen King. I would like to get other like indie writers and like us all publish a book together. And I didn't know magazines still did that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, they don't really. I mean, you'll see them maybe here and there, but like it's just something I feel like personally you don't see enough of anymore, just because it's something that I loved. Because it was, fanzines were a big thing, like late '90s, early 2000s, for so many. From wrestling to movies to music, all kinds of different things. Music. There were a lot of music ones back then. I remember
even back in the day, if you picked up like a Hustler or a Playboy, you could open it up and they would have a story area, and it would be like a short horror story, and you would look at the writer and it would be like Quentin Tarantino or something, like, they would do. Yeah.
I mean, I think everybody should write, honestly. I mean, it helps exercise things up here.
I mean, that's something that I've always like wanted to do for many years, like, here and there. I feel like I'm a very big procrastinator when it comes to things, though. So, and then whenever I do try to actually sit down and write, I have a lot of writer's block, and like I'll have like ideas here and there, but then when I actually sit down to try to like progress that, it's just like I can't hardly come up with anything. So
we did about a year and a half ago, we were working on something together, and I said, hey, let's try and write something. I was like, let's come up with a concept. And then he came up with a concept, and I said, well, how about we tweak it this way? And then we started bringing in characters, and then all of a sudden, like 2 months later, we had written a script.
Yeah, we have a whole script, and then
so now we're wanting to film it. We're actually wanting to build up to film this like movie.
I published it into a book. Just have 2 different types of variants. But yeah. I mean, the script. I mean, it's definitely something. It's
got a. I mean, I'm biased because I helped write it, but I think it's got a great twist ending. So, but that's just my opinion.
Well, I'm hope to see that, produce one day. So I would love to see. But I got a few more questions for you guys when it comes to wrestling. So this first one I want to ask of these last few questions: what is your guys' favorite thing about being inside the wrestling business?
Oh, I'll let you start.
Favorite thing I would say is especially when your act doesn't have to go up first. You can definitely get ideas from other people. You get to kind of size up other wrestlers. My other favorite thing is just honestly that feeling of the fans, even when you're a heel, it's kind of hard to explain. It's like it's a little bit addicting. Like I work in healthcare, I get the same feeling off of satisfying someone in healthcare, like fulfilling other people's tasks and needs is the same feeling as when you go out there, heel or not. Like even if people are cursing you out or they're cheering you on, it's like a drug in a
It
way.
has been described as an addiction.
Now I know
Yeah.
why,
Yeah.
or what it's like now. I mean, and I don't do that much compared to him, as far as being in the ring goes, and I feel it. So, and they say if you feel that, then you belong, and I feel like I belong with the very little I do.
Yeah. So for me, it would definitely be having creative freedom, especially on the independent scene. This is one thing that I see a lot of wrestlers don't do is you have wrestler A and wrestler B, and they are just playing the role of I'm just a really good wrestler, and they're focusing on the wrestling only. What I love the most about wrestling is you have a open book to be anyone or anything you can be.
Exactly.
And that character could be the most outlandish thing. It could be the most vile thing. It could be, I mean, you can just literally, there is no, well, I mean, there's a few brick walls, but very few brick walls on who you can be and how you can portray your character. And then the collaboration. I love the collaboration. And not only that, I love producing. I've learned over the past few years that I love producing. So, I mean, the wall's already been peeled back on what all that means, but I love helping other workers produce.
Yeah, I mean, and you see a lot of that, like on the independent scene, and that's why, and this is why I say so many times, like support indie wrestling 100%. I mean, it's great if you want to watch WWE or whatever's on TV, but like support indie wrestling because like as you said there's so much more creative freedom in indie wrestling now. What you get on TV with WWE or TNA or AEW or whatever it may be, it's all great and everything, but there are a lot of limitations when it comes to creative freedom or just licensing and things like that, on wrestling on TV. With indie wrestling, you can expect almost anything on the independent scene, like,
Yeah.
and I think ECW is one of those promotions to thank for that, because if you look at ECW in the 90s, a lot of these guys were coming out to theme songs from Alice in Chains and Pantera and just a lot of mainstream bands, and somehow Paul Heyman got away with it.
Yeah.
But and I think a lot of that continues to occur in indie wrestling nowadays. A lot of these independent local guys will come out to just whatever you get. From what I've heard, stories like they get there to the show and they're like, and the sound guys like, well, did you bring your music? So you really kind of almost get to pick whatever you want when it comes to that, and I feel like music theme songs for wrestlers is one of the things that kind of gets you into those characters and gets you hyped up for that match you're about to see, because music can be very powerful in that way.
Yeah, an entrance. So like I remember at the past few events, like I had a casket that stood up. Like I didn't want to do like the Taker deal. Like I had one that stood up and the door opens and there's like a goat skull on the front of it. And then I had like severed heads laying around. I had all this different stuff with red lighting.
You hired an actual,
and I set that stuff up.
Casket too.
Yeah. And so I set that stuff up, and I remember one of the workers were like, dude, this is cool. I wish I could do this. And I went,
you can't.
You can't.
And see, that's why
I did it, and I did it for me. You can do it for you. Like, you can do whatever you want. The only person that's holding you back is you. And a lot of workers will sometimes be like, they just want to focus on being a good wrestler, as opposed to building a character.
As far as presentation, right?
And I feel like the spirit, it's funny you were saying that, because I feel like, a lot of people are like, ECW's gone. And it actually, I just realized it's not. It's ECW's spirit kind of lives on in us, the independent crowd. I don't even really count anything through NWA as really independent, in my opinion. Because I mean, it's
they're on Roku,
really.
Roku
I mean,
Sports.
But I mean, as far as ECW goes, I feel like NWA, they're the new ECW. I mean, we are. First off, one thing I do like, a lot of people don't. My mother has voiced that she doesn't like this, but I kind of like that women can wrestle with men, vice versa. WWE, you can't really. I mean, every once in a while, maybe for like a vignette or a cut scene in the back, Trish Stratus might slap like what Shawn Michaels back in the day.
I mean, they would do some stuff, but
no, you can't. And I would really like to see Rhea Ripley take out like some of the biggest guys, just to see if she can.
Oh, I 100% know she could. I mean, if you watch Rhea Ripley, she could take out some of the guys.
Yeah,
but we can't see it. And like if she were to, and hint, if she were to come wrestle for NWA even for a night, maybe we could see that. But that's what I like about us.
That's the thing about wrestling too, is it's so unpredictable. You never know what's going to be next. I 100% believe that we will see Rhea wrestle some of the guys in WWE one day. I mean, she is, to me, like, she's the modern day China. And I mean, if you look back in the Attitude Era with China, she was the first woman to hold the men's Intercontinental Championship.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
She was having matches with Jeff Jarrett and Chris Jericho, and
didn't she beat Mark Marrow for it or something? No,
she beat Jeff Jarrett for it.
Jeff Jarrett, that's right. It
was some kind of like weird like gimmick match. It's like a good housekeeping match or something like that.
Yeah.
And I know, and I think there was like a part where like Jeff Jarrett like threw baking powder on her or something, because I remember at the end of the match, like she was like had all this like white powder all over her, and she's like standing there and like, holding the belt up. And but yeah, I mean, Rhea Ripley, I think, is, like I said, like the modern day China, and I think we will see more intergender stuff at some point. I don't know how long it'll be, but I mean, if there's anybody that's not familiar with intergender wrestling, and if you're a fan of WWE, Candice LeRae, who's in WWE right now, if you go back and watch her stuff on the indies, with Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, matches with like the Young Bucks, she was taking like, I remember there was a match where I think it was Matt Jackson. He had like thumbtacks on the bottom of his shoe, and he does
Yeah,
like a super kick, like straight to her face, like it connects with her face. And I was like, "Holy shit!"
yeah,
so,
yeah,
so
Damn.
definitely, there's a lot of girls out there that can get just as rough and tough as the boys do.
yeah.
Who was the one that I really liked through NWA? You showed me the video. She had done a straight up, wasn't it like
Natalie Markova. Yeah,
Oh
okay,
yeah, she's a champ
so
right now, I think.
yeah,
what
yeah.
was it she did?
She did, well, I mean, that really big
On that
moment
video?
whenever she jumped off the top of the cage and did that drop kick deal. That was wild.
Straight off the top, and I've never seen somebody. I mean, maybe I need to get out from under a rock, but I mean, I've not seen a female wrestler like her do something like
She's
that.
also really, she is like, she's super intelligent. She's like,
Is she Russian too? I mean, they're
well,
pretty brisk.
I'm just saying she is a very intelligent woman.
Yeah, and there's another one like that I'm actually a huge fan of. She was in the WWE there for a while in NXT as Gigi Dolan, but she really made her name on the independent scene, which she's going back under this name again, Priscilla Kelly.
Oh yes, we have had Priscilla Kelly before. Priscilla, I'm just letting you know there is some conversation about Priscilla coming to
Oh my
WrestleScream.
God, I will give you a hug if you bring her in.
Yeah, because she came in and worked with Kylie once before.
Oh, okay.
So there is conversation about possibly having Priscilla come in.
That would be amazing. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of hers, and like, she just did this match. I think it was in maybe GCW, if I'm not mistaken, where she it's like a death match, and she had like those they look
Skewers.
yeah, like the skewers. Like she
Yeah.
got the skewers into her head and everything. I was like, holy shit, man! Like I'm not the biggest fan of death match wrestling, but I will partake and watch it here and there. It's not something that I don't think I could watch like every day.
Yeah,
but
of course. Yeah.
but I do enjoy it sometimes.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
what do you guys feel about deathmatch wrestling?
Well, I don't know how much. I don't think Jake has as much experience with it, but like I remember growing up watching the Juggalo Championship Wrestling trade tapes with Terry Funk and Mick Foley doing those exploding bomb death matches. Like,
oh, when like they did the Tournament of Death in Japan.
Yeah. So I remember those more so. Whenever it comes to death matches, the way I look at it is, if you're a promotion, if your whole show is built around death matches, not as big of a fan of that. But if it's sparingly and that match is brought in as a way to culminate a feud, then I think it's okay. It's just there are certain things I don't like to do or see. I don't like whenever they're pulling out like actual knives and stuff like that. I don't like that. No. Because then the realistic side of me goes, okay, you're going to pull that out and you're going to cut the guy's forehead. Well, if you guys really hated each other, you had the perfect opportunity there to just stab him.
Ooh.
And get
wrestling, right?
So I just, but I think if it's used sparingly, and then
yeah, I think you said that perfectly. As far as how I feel, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of it, and when I mean that is like it's not something that I prefer when your whole promotion, like as you said, just kind of centers around it. But if you can just use that sparingly, then definitely, I'm it's something I'll watch. It's entertaining to me to an extent. But if you're out there like pretty much putting your body through torture and there's a good chance you may not wrestle again. I don't know how much I can support that.
We recently had an amazing one in Maryville with Hunter Drake versus Toby Farley, and that was kind of the culmination of their feud. And it was it was like I came out of that with a lot of respect for Hunter because I'm like,
you mean the one where Hunter takes dude's leg and uses it as a weapon?
Yeah, and then they was like headbutting each other with like glass like in between them, like so. I mean, I can't do it, but I
but it's like
went,
a car wreck. You can't look away,
Yeah, exactly.
Well, props to the guy who has the artificial leg, because apparently he showed back up to a completely other show of ours in a different location, just so in case Hunter needed his leg again. I mean, that's a fan right there. I mean,
that's awesome.
Great.
Yeah, and I've only seen that maybe like a few times in wrestling. Like I've seen it a few times on TV, but like when it happens in independent wrestling, I feel like that's something special because a lot of these, independent promotions and stuff, they'll kind of just, put on shows from town to town and it'll be a lot of the same stuff. But when you see something like that at an independent show, you're witnessing something special, I feel.
Yeah.
So just a couple more questions, guys. And this next one I asked to everyone. So when it comes to your favorites of all time, not necessarily who you think are the greatest of all time, but just your 4 personal favorites. Who's on that Mount Rushmore for you guys when it comes to wrestlers?
Okay, that's pretty easy for me. It's going to be Sting, Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker.
Easily, agreeable with. I mean, Sting is always going to be on there, and I'm the type of person who their Mount Rushmore kind of changes from time to time. Just
mine does too. Macho Man will sometimes like itch up.
Yeah, but Sting will always be in my top 4. Yeah. But what about you, Jake?
I would say out of starting with classic old school. Well, Sting's one of them. I remember when I was younger, I liked him a lot. Of course, Undertaker. But right now, like modern, I would say it would have to be one of them, Rhea Ripley.
Understandable.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I mean, I do like Randy Orton, but if I had to name 4. My 4th would be Batista because as I get older, I have a lot of respect for someone who actually really got started. When in his 40s?
No, he was in his 30s, but late in his life.
Yeah, and I mean, because like I'm 30, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of hoping to get even more into wrestling and have a somewhat career, and knowing that someone out there started older than what I am now and got pretty good. I mean, that's inspiring. And I mean, he's
and
so he became one of my favorites.
Yeah, I love Batista. It's funny because like when he first came into the WWE, like after just onto the main roster, because he was in like OVW as the Leviathan, and then when he came into WWE, he entered as Deacon Batista. He would come out there with Reverend Devon. And I wasn't the biggest fan. I'll be honest, I wasn't the biggest fan. No. I was like, I don't know what they're doing with this guy. But then when they kind of started like pushing him solo, and then he got into like the Evolution stable, I was like, dude, this guy is going to be huge. Like,
I mean, he had one of my favorite matches in late Undertaker's career at Mania.
Oh, the match between him and the Taker, I think.
Yeah, that was great.
23, I think, WrestleMania 23.
Yeah, and it was unexpected. Like, it was like one of those ones everyone came out of that being like, damn, dude, that was...
Oh, and I love the stuff that he was doing with Eddie Guerrero shortly before Eddie's death. Which, it's funny because they now bring up, FrankenCon again too. Kaylee Guerrero is a guest, FrankenCon, and she was there last year. So people may not know, that is Eddie Guerrero's daughter.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So she will be there at FrankCon this year, and I'm excited to see her again.
I think she's helping on Sunday with it's like a special effects workshop type thing.
Oh, okay,
really?
cool. Because I know that that's what she does nowadays. Like she's like a special effects artist. So
yep.
She got hurt not too long ago too, right?
She got attacked by a dog.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah, she's fine now though. You know.
Okay, well that's good, and hopefully we can all see her and she doesn't get attacked by any dogs at FrankCon.
Yeah.
But if and the last question that I wanted to ask you guys, if someone watching wanted to get into the wrestling business, someday and just aspire to be a wrestler or whatever it may be in the wrestling business, what is the best advice that you would give them?
Okay. It would be to find a good school, find a trainer, do as many seminars as you can, travel, get out of your element, and try and come up with a character. Because if you can come up with a character and weave that character into how you wrestle, then your longevity in the business is going to be better, because your bump card will be shorter if you're smart about it. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Well, coming from, I'm going to be real with this one, coming from someone whose parents, I mean, I wasn't like poor, but growing up 18 to 30, my parents, especially my mother, were great, supportive people, but not everybody has parents who can pay for certain bills for years and years and years, like me. So I know there's people out there who, young or older, who want to get into wrestling, but let's be real, a lot of the things that keeps good-hearted people and probably really good people who are good at wrestling from going is because of money. And my advice is schooling and training, unless you know somebody.
Rob a bank.
That, and then you gotta. My advice for that: wear a presidential mask when you do it, and two, really just work as much as you can, save up money, then go into training and get yourself into a position where you don't have to work as much, whether if it's help from a friend, parent, whatever, because that's what I'm trying to do now.
Support system,
yeah. I mean, and you really got to find, if you can't find train close by, then look an hour or so away.
Yeah, I mean, there's always travel, and I mean, I have a friend who is a wrestler. I interviewed him a while back here on the show. I mean, he traveled. He's from Kentucky, like myself, but he traveled all the way to Texas and lived out of his car for a year, just to train with under Rikishi and Funaki. So, I mean, if you have the passion for it, you're dedicated to the business, you have a love for it, like so many other people do, then definitely, it's not going to be easy. From what I understand.
I will add to that: learn all aspects of the shows. If you have a home base show, figure out what it is, how can I help with the setup, the production, the sound. Do you need to, storytelling, promos, try and learn multiple aspects of production so that you become more of an asset whenever you travel and you go to these other shows and you get there and they go, oh, damn, I'm working on this computer and this thing's froze up and I'm trying to figure out how to do this or do that. And any way that you can weave yourself in and become an asset, the more you know, the better.
And I mean, also, I've noticed
cut promos.
Yeah, and being a manager is like one of the. I feel like I might have a little bit of a head start or one up on a lot of people who are beginners, because managing and being like a complete rookie amateur gives you a lot of experience before you even go into training. I feel a little more confident now if I were to go into it.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest things when you're a wrestler is like you have to have confidence, right?
Yeah.
And you got to show, and at least if you don't, you got
Wrestlers
to show it.
Yeah, wrestlers in general are very selfish people.
Well, yeah, from what I
You
understand.
have to be.
That's true.
You have to be. You're going out there and you're
Yeah.
performing, and you're performing for other people, but really who you're performing for
Is yourself.
is yourself.
Mhm.
Right? So in
You
a
hit the
sense,
nail on the head there.
we are very selfish, but we give to the fans.
And I think that's, when people look at that from the outside as non-wrestling fans, it's go, oh, well, wrestlers are selfish. But I think it's not in the sense as like what you would be in any other situation.
No,
And
yeah.
again, that goes back to what I was saying, like wrestling being one of the most unique art forms ever, because there's things that may seem as a negative in any other situation, but with wrestling, it just feels different
Yep.
and it's seen differently.
Mhm.
And that's just another, thing for me to just to love about the business. And just, I mean, it's crazy to me sometimes when I talk to people who are non-wrestling fans, and I try to just, kind of get them interested in it's like, oh, well, I don't like that fake stuff. It's all just, I'm like, but well, do you like movies? Do you like TV shows? How is it any different from that?
It's actually more real than
Yeah.
movies. Because
I will say though that I would say that it is kind of an acquired taste, but it's an
I'm
acquired
biased.
taste.
I can't lie.
Yeah.
I'm biased.
But there is certain situations, if someone's really good at telling a story, you can hook people who aren't into it. So, and that happens all the time, especially at independent shows, because they feel so much closer to the action. They feel so, so it's just a whole thing.
Oh yeah. Well, guys, I just want to thank you again, Matthew, Jake. I really appreciate you taking the time and doing the show with me and all that. Before we go, is there anything else you guys want to add or say, or talk about anything you got coming up?
We got a show tomorrow at the Sevierville Civic Center.
Never back down.
Never back down. It's me teaming up with my niece Kylie, going up against Paradox and Serena Bell in a tag team tables match. Silas Mason's going to be going up against Jameson Shook. Kenzie's going up against Sean Christopher. Overkill's going to be in action. Hoodrich is going to be in action. We have the guys from the Sports Animal, which is 99.1, the radio station. It's like the official radio station of the Balls.
Which you just did a show with them.
Yeah. And they are our tag champs. It's the radio DJs became our tag champs by luck, and they're going up against Team Nashville. So Shane Williams and Chase Stevens. So we're all very concerned for them. So
and Hendrix will be joining.
And Hendrix will be there. Yeah, and we're gonna be, so it's tomorrow at the Civic Center in Sevierville, Tennessee, right next to the Sevierville Community Center. So it'll start at 8:00. But we always tell people to get there by 7. So, and then of course WrestleScream October 9th and 10th.
Absolutely. and guys, if you're watching, if you're in that area, Sevierville, Tennessee, be sure to go check that out tomorrow. And maybe on Saturday, you guys can just go down the road and go to Dollywood while you're at it. But be sure to follow WrestleScream on social media. I have all the links down in the description of this video for their website. I also have the links for FrankenCon that we talked about earlier, and of course NWA Crossfire. I have the links for that as well. So be sure to check out everything involving WrestleScream, FrankenCon, NWA Crossfire. But it has been a pleasure talking to you guys. I've had such a great time. We've had a lot of really good topics I've not talked about here on the show before. So thank you
Awesome.
guys so much. And I just want to thank everyone for watching the show. I've got some other things coming up, including next week or this Sunday. Actually, I'm going to be doing a show talking about like the current build up for WrestleMania. So if you're interested in that, be sure to check that out. And then next week, I also have a show we'll be talking with a wrestling roundtable with Stuntman Mark and John Grande from Grande's Graveyard. And I'll also have a new episode of How I Got Into Wrestling next week as well on next Thursday with horror movie artist Dick Starr. So be sure to check all that out. And if you haven't already, be sure to like, subscribe, and click that effing bell, brother, right here on the CraterMania channel. And we will see you next time on How I Got Into Wrestling.
He's a man.